One of the nice functions that there is also on WhiteFox imaging is volume calculation. Basically, if you are able to isolate any type of window or range of Answell unit, you can then display it in 3D, and you can ask the software to calculate the volume for you. There is one application that we can see is for the application of Sinus lift. And a Sinus lift, you need to have a certain quantity of biomaterial, and it's always nice to know in the forehand what is going to be the volume of this biomaterial that you are going to be needing. So here I must say this is where the function of 3D is quite useful. So let's first choose for soft tissue. There we can see our patient, and the idea will be in the next step or to see first how good is the sinus. So in order to do that, I use the trim function, and the trim function then enables me to see inside the sinus. Oh, what's happening here? Well, in fact, as you can maybe see, yes, we can see it quite well here. We have here a patient that has a sinus that is completely full. So of course this is also one of the great benefits of WhiteFox, in contrary to a panoramic, or what we call OPG device, is that you get precisely the idea to get soft tissues and that you don't get on a panoramic. In a case like that, if you were planning to do a sinus lift, just imagine that you would discover a sinus that is completely full. The operation is simply cancelled, and you just waste your time. So what we're going to do is simply trying to fill up this sinus. And for that, I need to define exactly the shape of this sinus. For that, I have a special mode which is airways, that is here, and where I can select negative. So that means that here you see what the airways of the patient looks like. So it's a sort of inverse, if it would be like the air would be solid. By the way, it enables you also to get a pretty good idea of the anatomy of your patient. Like this, if you look from the top, you see here all the airways in a very nice and detailed way. So let's now isolate this sinus. So for that it's quite easy. I'm going to zoom a little bit, and I'm going to frame the sinus using, of course, zoom when I can to make it more precise. Exactly. And slowly but surely you will see that the shape of my sinus is going to appear. That's a nice sinus, this one. Like this. Like this, like this. There you go. We get our sinus. But of course I could do here calculate volume, but at this point in time is not yet, it wouldn't give me any good information. Why? Because I would get simply the volume of the full sinus, which is not the target that we want, because we want to have the volume of the biomaterial. So let's define a level where we're going to put the biomaterial. Let's say that in this intersection here is going to be more or less the level. So I simply drop here the framing and what we call a trimming, and here I still have a little bit of problem with this little fellow here. There, I think he's going to be disappearing. Right, exactly. So, there we go. If I want to be sure, I can simply add a little bit of definition, or in fact, I'm playing here with windowing. And next step is simply right-click, volume calculation, calculate visible volume. And here you go, you get 3.2 cc of biomaterial. In case you just want to be sure, about what you're exactly looking at. You have everything that is in red is the 2D volume that is calculated by, and you can see it clearly here in 3D. So that means that here we're sure that we not take into account this part. Of course, is soft tissue, and we define the windowing with airways for air. So we say to the software, we are looking for air, and that's what he's calculating. So this was volume calculation dedicated for sinus lift with WhiteFox imaging.